Hello, and welcome to Critical ReRoll, the podcast by the critters for the critters about Critical Role. I'm one of your hosts this week. My name is Matt, and I, for one, welcome our new serpent overlord, Ukatawa. Toa.
He's gonna love it when he can't pronounce his name.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jess, the all-seeing.
And I am Dustin, the deceiver.
And yeah, this is Critical ReRoll. So, episode 37, the one from the live show, and with the choppy audio, took place, and we're going to talk about it. Now, I have to admit, I never finished the one from before.
Oh. Did that have an effect on your opinion of this episode?
It did a little bit. So when the episode started, I was very confused as to why there was a hut under the ship.
Yeah, they used that was their glass bottom boat.
I didn't know that they were doing that. I didn't know that that was like a use you could do. But anyway, this episode picks up after that.
Had said that it was a very creative use.
Yeah, and like I've had a party use it to like avoid poisonous gas because like it lets air in, and they're like, well, that's air, or is it like all gases? I'm like, sure, you can filter gas. Anyway, already off on a tangent. This episode picks up, I guess we're left off, and they are stopped by another ship, and there are two little dinghies heading towards them. For Parfait. Yep, two boats for Parfait. And that's kind of, we jump right into it. So they kind of, I guess, had pre-planned some things that they were going to do, like Ford turning into the other captain guy, whose name I have never written down. But he's dead, so it doesn't matter. And then everyone else was kind of like, Ford's like, look menacing at least. And so Jester
Captain
like...
Jawgrass.
Captain
Jawgrass.
But everybody else kind of takes some sort of menacing look. Jester makes her eyes, angry eyes. Mm-hmm. Bo didn't do anything because Bo's pretty badass already.
Mm-hmm. Well, also she doesn't have illusionary magic.
That's, also true.
Let's go with the ones that have illusionary magic, which is basically everyone except Bo and Yash.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Not didn't do anything, did she? She kind of like is okay in goblin form out here.
Yeah, she hasn't really done. I think she didn't really change her.
Yeah, she didn't turn into Captain Crunch this time.
Which is cool that she kind of like gets to be part of the group as herself now.
Yeah, that's true.
The ocean, nobody cares.
Yeah, and so we meet a new NPC, and Matt does a good job of like giving us just enough flavor to make an NPC memorable. So we meet Boulder Gut. Who doesn't really like her voice and her whole deal. She's like a big ogre. Matt described her as like having makeup that's like washing off, which I thought was interesting.
But you don't care because it don't matter because you don't say boo to an ogre.
Ever.
I like that she's like she's probably like the muscle of the ship, I imagine.
Yeah, she's their grog. Hold on.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was sidetracked.
Nothing, I just like that she's like so big and strong and they trust her enough that they were like literally just left her. Like they didn't need to leave a landing party on the boat. They literally just left her on the boat as they went back to the Squall Eater. Mm-hmm. And they left her on the Mistake to basically like watch the crew and like...
Yeah, get them to beach and watch the crew.
Like also almost immediately the crew of the Squall Eater is like, hey, Jawgrass, these aren't the people that you normally have. And like, what happened to you?
And right off the bat, they do what the Mighty Knight do, which is just lie their butts off. Immediately, it's like,
it's got them so many places. Already.
We had no complications, and the old crew just died. So these are the new ones, and they're all sea hardened and gruesome. And I'm a pirate. That's the other one. Is what, Vera? Is the other person we meet?
Vera's the older lady.
Yeah. Do we get a race for her, or just that she's an older lady?
Oh, an older, yeah.
Because I hope
There's a-
she's an undead white, so we can call her Vera White. You're welcome. That's my one joke for the whole episode.
No more jokes for you.
Yep, I was out. We got
Used
the
it, it's done.
great quote from Travis when he was asked really to just do anything, and his fuck shit balls. There was one other word. What was the last word? I didn't write it down. It was 4 words. Ass.
So it's usually like fuck shit balls ass.
Yeah.
Classic,
FSBA.
he's not prepared for anything.
But he kind of beforehand comes up with a great idea of like, if I have to talk like this guy, I don't know what he sounded like, so he makes the bandages. So all in all, like, pretty solid disguises thus far. Nipples on a horse is another good one, yeah. So they make their way over and meet the ship's captain, confirm that it is indeed the Squall Eater. That their boat is currently sinking, but slowly. And then they continue just to lie. So they meet this... Oh, go ahead, Dustin. Were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just gonna end huddle in close quarters.
Yeah, like...
Basically, the theme of this episode is them talking loudly to us, and then being like, "Oh, is there anyone around?" We were totally whispering that. We were totally like, and then like lying to face everyone publicly, and then huddling, like you just described.
Like I just the part like them just meeting Ivanka, and then I could just see and like, and then like she asks the question, and then all of a sudden they group back up, and like oh, and then like that's not fucking suspicious like right off the bat. Like,
right?
They didn't really go in there being like the confident crew. Like Ivanka, I mean, she definitely knows her shit, and she's a competent captain. She has 2 boats. We don't know if she has more boats under her too.
Right.
She may have other sister ships out there. And she's just like, yeah, these aren't the people that I work with on a regular basis.
Yeah. And that was something that wasn't clear to me, that the Mist was like her other boat. Like I didn't understand that part. Like she owns the Mist.
Galen had talked about that, I think, when in the last episode when they were kind of questioning, you know, after the mistake of taking the Mist.
So yeah, the same captain brings an entire new crew to her ship. It's just like, all right, you've already been caught. Let's not make this worse. But they do continue the lie. She, Ford in his like raspy voice is like, we were successful in our mission, but we lost some people. And so she's like, oh, you were successful. Like, give me the crystal. Like, give me the orb you were supposed to go get. And they're like, huddle. What do we do?
Yeah, like, I was like, what?
Here's the thing. And so, like, already just, like, stacking the deck against them.
Yeah, and they were doing the thing where they, like, lie on top of lie on top of lie, and they don't remember which lie is which. They all gave they gave themselves, like, they didn't know which names to go by, because they were going by Tracy and Philip and Janet.
And Cornelius and Gilligan, of all things. Like, I knew it was going to happen, and I knew it was going to be Sam, but I didn't know it was going to happen that quickly. And then... Gilligan. Yes, it's ships, not boats. My bad. Got the 3 masts. But yeah, it's just so weird that they keep lying, especially when they're on someone else's ship. Really at their... What's the word? Not beck and call. Mercy.
Yeah.
Like, she could just murder you all. And then, we learned that they all have pistols.
Yes, I was going to say, which is proven a second later when Matt describes, you hear this sound, like...
Yeah.
And it's just like a line of firearms being cocked, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and my favorite part about that scene is that Matt described each of them looking different. So like Percy done goofed. So many people know about guns and how to make them.
Guns and ships, and now the balance shifts.
Oh man.
Ivanka's favorite.
And just them lying so much is so interesting because it's in direct opposition to how straightforward everyone else was being with them. Like everyone was being very like straightforward. I get it's like these are people you don't know, and like you don't trust them. That's cool, but they obviously know what is going on, and like sometimes you need to base your lies in a little more truth. They were just like
Yeah.
going like wah. They were going like full maximum lie
Yeah, like
spectacular. Like
you've decided to say that you're somebody that you've never heard talk, have never talked to, know nothing about, and you're lying to her boss that you're him. But anyway, they don't get killed on the spot. They talk a bit, and eventually Avantika circles the group after learning everyone's name and everyone's introduced themselves. And she does this whole, like, I've been around long enough to be able to see through a paltry illusion or whatever, and actually, like, brushes the bandage around Ford's neck, and her hand goes through it, and she does the nice, like, it's been quite some time since somebody had big enough balls to lie to me in my face or something like that, and Ford confirms ball size.
Also, this is a good time to stress why practical effects are oftentimes better than CG effects.
Yes, I'm
Like,
so.
even if they just got like a little red and like just hide it, like that would have felt real.
How easy is it to
Yeah.
put a
He was
bandage
looking
on your
like
neck?
Jawgrass, though,
Yeah.
so she would have gone through like the jawgrass part of it, but
yeah, but like
Just-
like you said,
but still.
they've gotten so used to like using these illusions and having them be successful against like low level people that when they come up against someone competent and they're like, I'll just throw up a minor illusion, it's not a problem. I'll just throw up my like disguised self, it's not a problem. Like, and it's like doesn't last a second.
Mhm.
It's like, and since we're at sort of Avantika seeing through their bullshit, I thought it was really interesting. Like I made a note of Matt describing Avantika as having eyes that have seen through 1,000 lies. And so I was wondering, like, does she just have really high insight? Does she have some like weird lie detector feat? Or, as we learn a little later in the episode, is it perhaps something her patron has gifted her to see through illusions and lies?
Yeah, because you have something like True Sight. Or like some sort of necklace or item that gives her that, or a freaking eye in her palm. I'm really interested to know what kind of class she is. Like, is Matt just making her a legit swashbuckler because pirate? But we'll talk to
Or
that
is
when
she-
we learn more about her.
Or is she a warlock?
That's what I hope. Okay, you said it, so that's one thing. I was gonna wait till we got to her. Yeah, my hope, and I have it written on a sticky note when the episode went on. I hope that she is also a warlock of some kind, and has a pact weapon, and that her pact weapon is some sort of like crazy looking pistol that shoots magic bullets, or like that's how she casts and shit.
that would be cool. That would be cool.
Eldritch blast with a bullet.
Yes, yes. That's all I want, and like a 3-barrel, because she can shoot 3 or however many blasts she gets. Or another blood hunter. Interesting, that'd be fun too. She did drip blood onto a shrine. Cool, let's just jump around. So after they lied to the captain and get caught, they agree to a parlay, and they all kind of group up and plan out how they're going to continue lying. Come up with like it's not, and just pointed out before, like it's not who's the conscious one in the group that's like, maybe we shouldn't lie. Maybe we should come clean and actually become allies with these people because we want to know what they're about to do. Because it, heavily affects.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dustin.
Oh, I mean, it's just she has information that pertains to Ford and like the stuff. Like, why make it worse than it already is? Just like I liked that there was at least one person in that group that is the voice of like, why are we still doing this? We're not getting anywhere. Like, why do we keep trying? It's just gonna,
She has an eye in the handgun.
Someone pointed out it'd be interesting for her to be some sort of cleric cultist due to the blood dripping on the shrine and stuff like that. So it's a mix of, believing in your god, but also you're a cultic fanatic. Like,
Yeah.
that's so interesting. But yeah, no, I think that's interesting. Matt, what you just said, because I was wondering like when it was while they were already. So basically, they talked to Avantika on deck. She was like, "Yeah, I know you're full of shit," like, and sent them sort of on their way with Vera. And then they had a little group huddle, and then they went back in to talk to her again. They went back in to have like a better parlay with her in her quarters on her sort of terms. And it's so interesting to me that once again it was not, because this has happened a lot lately. This happened even while they were back on the dock. That it's been not who has been like, well, why are we lying? Why are we doing this? Like, what is our motivation right now, guys? Because it seems a little crazy. Like, maybe we should just be honest. And I love that is coming from not a lot lately. I don't know. I just think it's so great.
Yeah, and it starts kind of making me question, like, is that not, or is that Sam trying to, like, guys, we gotta keep the group together somehow. We made these characters, let's play them. But yeah, in their little meeting with each other, they kind of decide that they need to get whatever information they can. So everybody but Ford is going to feign ignorance and be like, you tell us about the crystal, because Ford never told us about the crystal. He never told us what it does, so will you tell us what it does? And then they also, in between, Ford's like, yeah, and also while we're here, make sure you're watching what the crew is doing so you can kind of learn how a ship works. Which
I love that when they're like, okay, well, what happens if shit goes wrong? They're like, maybe we can just jump onto our boat and like get away. And they're like, but they also have a boat, so they could chase us. And so Jester's like, steal boats?
¿Por qué no las boats?
Steal both ships?
Yeah. Oh, and that's when they're like, oh shit, they have our crew too. Oh shit, they have our turtle.
They have Orly! No!
They're supposed to fight gods with him.
No, I need Orly in my life. Do you think that if they let Avantika know that they had a skilled navigator on hand, that she might be a little more like nice to, like, she'd treat Orly okay? I feel like that's a handy person to have.
I mean, they're already on the island at the end of the episode, so if they cross her, their crew is probably dead. Which sucks.
Well, I don't see Avantika as someone who would let any
waste a useful person.
That is true.
Yeah.
She
Orly is being paid as a navigator. He's not like a contract.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure she would just be like, okay, I'll pay you.
Yeah, all of those people are paid.
To navigate my other boat, like, because I have two boats sitting here, and another navigator is important.
Congrats, you're the captain.
Yeah, you're the captain.
Also, Marius, Marius Laplama, who works for her.
Marius Laplama is not a useful person. She even said so.
Yeah.
She's like, he's just some useless dum-dum that we, like, got to do shit for us. Like,
yeah, towards the beginning of the episode, when they brought up Marius and brought up Orly, I was like, well, what about the guy who is part of the original crew? That if they start talking, will blow all your shit up. Like, but then they all come clean and like start talking, and they're just like, if there's any sort of opening you guys see, we'll do chain messages to everybody, get on the same page, and we'll dip. Let's not forget Caduceus this time. So they all meet back up with Avantika and have this parlay, or this is after the parlay because they're given kind of an ultimatum, like, well, you could either join our crew and help me do this thing, or we can weigh your body down in the ocean. And she is kind of like pressing on, like, I want to know what you know, Captain Ford. And he's like, it's Tusktooth. And she's like, well, will you tell me if I call you Tusktooth? And that's when everyone immediately ships him. You can't not. You can't not at that point. They got some for real chemistry. But yeah, so they what do I have? The note of Marisha next to Travis being like, don't do it, don't fall for it, she's trying to use them titties. Sorry, that one made me laugh real bad when Marisha said that, because it was out of nowhere. But this is where they continue their lies, and Ford's like, I know exactly where it's at. It's off the coast in this reef.
It's in the reef.
And I will totally point to where I know exactly where it is on the reef.
Yeah.
And it's like, why did you do that?
Yeah, that's it. That's it for me. It's like, once again, it points out, like, they're all lying. Like, she's like, hey, here's what's happening. I'll do a test of loyalty. Where's the object? And they do a bunch of lies. Like, Nott's like, we saw it melt faces! And, like, you know, like, Ford tries to trick her into giving him information. And she's, like, once again, she's just straight up. She's just like, you don't have the cards in your hand right now.
Yeah.
You can't make the requests.
Like,
She's
I'm
like,
the chosen.
yeah, she's like, but like I'll do a trade with you, and he's like, oh yeah, it's in the reef, and she's like, okay, well then I'll admit I've never had this particular item before, and that's what I mean. She's never lied to them.
Nope.
She has been so straightforward and so upfront with them, and they have just like bold-faced lied upon lied upon lied, and it's like they can't even keep it straight. And like I think it's finally, you know, at this point when she starts telling them all this stuff. She's like, I've never had this particular item before, but I have this adventurer Jumanji Costco coming. Sorry, Jumanji Costco. I had to do it. You know, and there's a temple that we're going to, and she basically lays it out for them, and they're like, oh wait, like she's like, I have the chosen of. Sorry, I'm ruining your thing. You want to take?
No, I didn't have anything. This is the next stuff that happens. I just have it.
Yeah, so then basically she's just like, I have the chosen of Uk'otoa, the great Leviathan.
And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, what did you say?
It starts describing it, and everyone's looking, you know, to Ford. Everyone's like, now can we
like,
tell the truth? Now can we, like, be honest and, like, try and get some real stuff?
All right, so we'll pause real quick. Let's talk about Uk'otoa and what we know. Yeah, Uk'otoa is a great Leviathan, and everyone was not on the same page as to what a Leviathan was. Not even us were at the beginning. I picture the things from Final Fantasy. Dustin, what were you thinking of?
I was actually looking at. I will link it in the chat. If you go to D&D Beyond, they have it's from Mordenkainen's page 198 is a Leviathan, which is sort of like an elemental elder, and I was thinking of like that serpent kind of thing.
For those watching,
yes, and then for those listening,
right
it's Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, page 198.
and then Jez.
I was completely misinterpreting it and imagining more like a kraken. Which, to be fair, some of them also said kind of like squid. Like they all, like at least one or two of them had also sort of imagined more like that. But obviously Leviathan is more serpentine, as they describe a little later.
Yeah. So, the Great Leviathan, Avantika says she's the chosen, and everyone's like, awkward.
How do you know this? How do you know that you're the only chosen?
All right.
Maybe it's not the chosen one. Maybe it's the chosen two.
The chosen fun. Like, we're all gonna have fun that are chosen.
I also what I like that happens between Ford and Avantika is that sort of like when we meet each other for the first time or something like that, and there's a shared love, and we're like, oh, you know about this thing that I also know about? Like, let's gab. Let's like, ooh, show me yours, I'll show you mine. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And I love that kicked in. And I love how Matt, like, when they eventually later.
Yeah, you tell me about your wet dreams, I'll tell you about my
All
wet
right.
dreams.
Yeah.
So what we learned is... Oh, good.
I was just gonna do a horrible. You tell me what you swallowed. I'll tell you what I. Swallowed.
I'll tell you what I spit up. Yeah. So Uk'otoa. Thank you. Once ruled the Cidian Ocean. Lucidian. Did I say that wrong? It's a serpent, and Travis squeaked serpent. It's apparently shortly after the calamity washed the land clean, and Zahir, we learned another name, the cloaked serpent god, was banished. One of his greatest creations was left to rule the ocean, and that is Uk'otoa. Thank you. The indigenous people of the series of islands, called the Quinoa, which I'm sure they're going to start calling quinoa.
Quinoa.
I literally held it back because I literally just wanted to say quinoa.
Quinoa. They were granted the blessings of Uk'otoa, and no one would stand before them. However, the surviving worshippers of Zahir, the cloaked serpent, grew jealous, and they sealed Uk'otoa under the rocky depths of the Lucidian Ocean, and defaced some of the temples.
I like this whole temple thing.
Yeah.
This whole older god.
And so,
Also, I'm sorry, but do you think Zahir had a brother god Zahir?
and it's Zahir and Zafar, so wherever you are. But Avantika wants to bring back Uk'otoa, get the blessing, and be able to control the seas, which sounds scary, sounds big, and sounds something like Ford wants.
That's like when she started describing Uk'otoa, and elder like gods and all this stuff, and I'm thinking like, okay, well we know how gods work in Matt's world. We know that there was a person who tried to become one in the last campaign. We know how most of them are locked behind, the gate. This isn't good. Unleashing this thing is not good. Like, bringing about the control of the seas. Like, all of this is just like, in my head, I'm sitting there, it's like, evil. Like, all of this is bad. This is just one. And then, like, to see Ford be very, like, into it. With Avantika, and then sort of, like, not so much, we jump around a little bit, but not so much into, like, obviously telling his friends, like, oh, this seems weird.
She's crazy, you guys.
Yeah, but also, like, him, like, he's like, that sounds beautiful, that's amazing, this is the power of the seas, I've always wanted that, and, like, where is this going to go?
Yeah, and the rest of the group's like, so we're just going along with it for now, right? Like, this is just we're just pretending to be pirates, right? We're just pretending to go along with these crazy cultists, right?
Well, but then they, like, fully decide to join when Bo asks, like, how are you sure you're the only chosen of Uk'otoa? And she's like, I don't know if I'm the only one, but I have the dreams. And everyone's like, you got the dreams. Like, you have dreams. He's like, wait, we? Yes, I have dreams. And the party...
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say the party, like, freaks out, and that's when you get so you also have wet dreams?
Yeah.
They got beaten to the wet dreams.
Oh boy.
Marisha beat Caleb or Liam. I can't ever call them by whatever their names are.
And it's interesting that Avantika, like, once again, just like Avantika knew immediately, like, when they were, like, every time they've lied, she's, like, known they were lying. When Ford was like, I've had these dreams too, that very easily could have been someone just going along with your thing, right? The first time someone hears your story, if they're also like, oh yeah, me too. Such an easy lie. She knew he was telling the truth at that point. She knew. Matt describes, like, her zeroing in on him and being like, yep, he's telling the truth. Like, she...
Yeah, she's always like, oh, you're not lying about this.
Yeah.
And then Bo admits that they're not a dumbass crew and totally murdered the other one and stole the ship. And then that's like, and the crazy thing is we don't even know why we did it. We loco. And that's they kind of win Avantika over at that point. She offers to let them stay aboard the night. Well, wink, wink.
Gets some nicer accommodations.
Kicks 2 people out to the deck so they have room.
Yep.
I have a big note that no tentacles are ever mentioned ever when describing this deity at any point in this campaign.
But they still called it the hentai cult at one point.
Well, Caleb did. Well, that was 100% Liam.
Like, I mean, come on. If you see it from, like, I was still thinking that too. Like, these elder ocean god, like,
I mean,
Always imagine tentacles.
Like, I mean, my default is to imagine tentacles, and I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Never once did I think tentacles.
That's fine.
Always the tentacles. But they describe as they're leaving the room that, like, I think is it Caleb notices her shrine?
Ford sees it above the door.
Is it Ford? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the little black iron shrine, and that's the first time I think we get the description that it's a giant serpent covered in eyes.
Ouroboros covered in eyes. Does it ever said how many eyes, or are we just assuming?
No.
It just said, like, continuing eyes.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought a number was said 9, but that might be later when they.
Well, that's later when they bring up Molly.
I think that's when they were talking about Molly.
Call out John Allenson in the chat because I also feel this way. they say, I like this direction for the campaign. More Ford backstory. Lizard
Yeah.
folk, Yuan-Ti, Kuatoa, Snake, Cthulhu temples on islands beneath the sea. A flavor the show hasn't explored before. I love that
Yeah.
we're moving into this kind of flavor. I love Yuan-Ti. I'm writing a one-shot about Yuan-Ti.
I literally have the UNT page open on my Volo's guide right now. Anyone that's
I think
in
they're
the...
very interesting.
I drew a
love
snake eye on my chest.
I have it on my account.
Um,
Very interested.
Plus, I love Cthulhu. I love temples in the oceans. I love temples that unlock things. I love temples. This is all my sort of thing. It's my thing, baby.
For
My
sure.
bag. It's my bag, baby. Yeah.
Oh
wow.
no! So this
I'm
is
sorry I called back.
this is your last episode, man.
Goodbye.
It's been a good run.
So after this, they all kind of go to their quarters, and that's when we really get to the nitty gritty of the question asking towards Ford. They're like, "What are you gonna do with this thing? Do you want the orb out of your stomach? Do you want to like lay down and worship this god and start following it?" And then Ford finally like comes clean about like all the dreams that he's had. And it,
Yeah, and there's a really big. I don't know if it's like then, but like when they wake up, or I don't know when. I can't remember when in the episode Caleb gets really into it. But for a guy who keeps his shit really close,
yeah, that's
to
at the very end of the episode.
Caleb is very into having everyone else be open about their. Because Caleb was very harping on the I don't know enough about you. You haven't told us anything. You need
Yeah.
to all be honest.
I called
really-
BS there.
Caleb only told his backstory to
Not in Bo.
Yeah.
Not
Not
Bo.
Bo.
And so it's like.
And only out of
Yeah.
necessity, so he could get into a library of all things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the real telling line of this interaction that I thought was when Ford is like, "I just want to know where the temple is. I don't care if these people die." That's kind of like, okay, a little bit of a red flag. Like now you're kind of culty, kind of drinking the Kool-Aid. But the next most important part is that Jester finally gets to feel Ford's abs.
That's true.
It
I was
finally
very
happens.
happy about that.
It was fan service, and we loved it.
Mm.
But then we get more caduceus knowledge, where they're like, okay, we need to like get more information out of Avantika, because Yasha is like, I think we need to get more stuff. And Bo's like, or someone's like, yeah, you could intimidate it out of her, and caduceus is like, I don't think she can be intimidated. I think vanity's the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people have a lot to talk about and just need someone to talk to, and it's like, yeah, dude.
I do love I do love how this episode played out too. In Matt has kind of really been using Caduceus's really good like insight into other people to give the group plot points and things like that. And like Taliesin made a conscious effort in the first part of this when they could have really used a lot of that insight into Avantika and all this other stuff. To be like he wasn't really paying attention this whole time.
Yeah, he wanted to
And
play
I really
he
like
wanted to
that.
play the name game.
Yeah, and I love that. Then he's like, you know, after he got to pay attention, then he's like, you know, vanities. Like this is, she's obviously you get her talking about stuff that she's interested in and that talks about her. It's like you'll get what you need.
Yeah,
But yeah, I love the way Taliesin chose that because like Matt, I think there was one little try where they tried like Ford tried to get it and Taliesin was like, no, you can't have this one this time. Like
yeah. Well, no,
Figure
that's
it
the first time because there are passive checks outside of passive perception that
Yeah.
you're like right, and Matt actually like brings up, well, your passive wisdom is blah 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 blah. Like you
Well, yeah,
can
that's
catch
what
a
I love.
lie.
Not a lot of- yeah, and I love the passive abilities. They don't really get addressed that much as a thing, but I like that Matt always keeps that in the periphery. Like some people just have a good sense about investigating things or like wisdom things, like those passive perceptions and insights and investigations. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail.
No, that's a good point to
I
derail.
like the beats of Caduceus through this episode.
Yeah. And then you have the weird part of not wanting to just sneak down to the cargo hold. But it's interesting because she minor images Costco, who she's never seen. Like, none of them have seen.
Yeah, so I didn't like pick up on that in the first time I watched it, but then the other two times I'm like, well, I wasn't even the second time I watched it, but the third time I was sitting and I like stopped doing my chores and I'm like, wait, they haven't even seen Costco
Yeah.
yet. Like, okay, I didn't even like.
Yeah.
And like, how did that person think it was Costco if they'd never like seen him?
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, but it worked. So hey.
Yep.
Let's see. Anything
It was
in
really
the
good flavor too.
chat fun? I like the
Well,
way Travis.
I think it was...
Good.
Well, nothing. I was just gonna say. I think it was from like that whole thing was a really long thing. Like not going through. Like they had some cute moments. Like she. Like I like that Matt kept making her do different checks. Like she had to do a bunch of things. She's like, I have ceramic pieces. I throw them. I have minor illusion. I stick it over here. I like blah blah. But it was from not doing that and pretending Jametti Costco was there that the people went and got Avantika, and then Avantika went and got Ford.
Mm-hmm.
So that played out sort of in a like the crisscross back
Yeah, like
forth
just
little-
like
sort
ask
of
each other. Yeah, like
sort of way.
It worked out.
Yeah.
I was going back up through the chat. So we were on Reddit talking about the possibility of Caleb being one of the campaign antagonists is one thing.
Well, I'm surprised that that is a popular topic and not that Ford is the antagonist.
Yeah, after this episode, I'm like, so on the Ford's probably evil, you guys. Another one, I like the way Travis addressed that in character, having Ford ask Caduceus if he has special powers in that way. So that was fun. Where he's like, yeah, you kind of just have this way of, reading people, and you kind of just say what's on your mind.
I'm hoping we do get an episode later of Critical Reroll. Later down the line, where Jess can just wear a shirt that says "Jess was right."
That I've been saying since the beginning that like something is up with Ford, like he might be evil since the very beginning. And when I think, okay, may I be allowed to go off a tiny little, I can save it to the end. I can save it to the
Yeah,
end.
nope. It's Fordcast.
Oh, we don't have that. A forecast. I did the wrong thing.
I can save it if it's not the time.
You could do
Should we
it.
should
Okay.
the forecast be
It's
preceded with nautical sounds?
boop,
No, it'd be like weather. It'd be like a weather. Okay, well, it's just here's the thing to me. There's been a lot of stuff with Ford, and what I think is really interesting with Ford is that I think it's unclear how much of it is intentionally Travis versus how much of it is allowing his backstory to be open. Because we've seen him boldface lie a bunch. So even right now, a lot of things we think to be true about Ford could easily not be true. We've seen him very comfortably lie to his group and other people around. That being said, I don't know if he's like intentionally ill-intentioned evil, or if like just he has an evil patron. Perhaps it's having a bad influence on him. Like maybe he was a super nice guy, but then he legit died and came back with an evil patron. But then there's also the fact that we found out, like, I know very early on, me and several other people were very much on the Ford is not just a half-orc bandwagon.
I was on the Haku on T.
I was there
Yeah,
too.
like,
Yep.
and the thing with that being that, like, hey, it could be half-orc, but what the other half could be something else interesting, too, because a lot of times when you think half-orc, half-elf, you always automatically assume the other half is human, but there's opportunity there for different mixes. But what's interesting with Ford is he has said he was an orphan. He has said he doesn't know who his parents were. He has said, like, the reason he doesn't have tusks is because he's filed them down. This leaves a lot of openness, and once again, is it that Travis decided these things for himself, or did he leave a lot of his past open to Matt, and as a player, he gets to be surprised too? Like, is he on this trip with us where, like, we didn't know who his patron was and he didn't know who his patron was, and as it's being shown to us, is it being shown to him, or does he have more knowledge of it than he lets on?
Hey, that's
or
kind of a
like,
good segue to one of our questions that we get when we put out a little Google form to ask questions beforehand. So this one comes from Generic Nerd. And it says, pretty sure Ford has become the coolest character. Do you think he will go against his patron's wishes? So through talking with Avantika, we get that there might be multiple chosen, but they all get some sort of blessing and are all part of possibly releasing this thing back into the world. So do we think Ford now is like gung-ho or like totally on board with that, or is he gonna like, maybe this thing shouldn't be let out?
Exactly, and Jess brings up good points about this too, like how much of the story is like, is this being revealed to Travis as we go? And it's mostly like he left it open for Matt to do, which would be a really interesting thing to see how Travis would take Ford, as he may not intentionally evil, maybe he didn't even start out being evil, but being lured by this god, like either he goes with it or he goes against it, but like it's a good pivotal point that gives Travis as a player to decide what he wants to do. And I really love that. Like I didn't even like really think about that until Jess was talking about it. And I'm like, oh yeah, like if he left it more open, then Travis is learning of this, and then he can make the active decisions for Ford to be like, oh well, this power sounds really good. Whether he intended it to be an evil, and like so much stuff we don't know about Ford still, and it's just so good. It's such a good story beat, whichever way it goes. I mean, but I like how open it seems. But and, there's a lot of foundation for us, like not really know enough about Ford. He seems like John Allenson brought it up again. Like he always saw Ford as the moral center of the antisocial crew, but like you have to think of Ford, how quickly he jumps into other characters, how quickly he becomes another person. Like I've never really like,
and how he's been using a fake accent the whole time,
right? Yeah, and like how he quickly jumps into, and like how he even mentions like, I've
been lying for so long
to be other people. Like I just how he tried to play that off. Because like if you see that point when he wakes up from the dream, which we'll probably eventually get to, Travis as a character made that point to go, oh wait, back into this accent. Like that was a good little like cookie crumb to everybody else. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No,
you're good.
It's all
we had
good.
some good discussion in chat too, though. We have Liam Gray said, I think there might be opportunity here for like a higher level patron slaying, sort of like person killing his smoke monster. That's interesting because we know. Okay, we looked at the Leviathan that is in, which one is it?
More in
Tomb of
Cannons.
Foes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and we looked at that, and that's a CR 20. But I think what we're looking at here is either a Matt variation or a Matt original version. Like I don't imagine it would be a straight out of the book. I think there's no way it's a straight out of the book. But they definitely, either way, they're nowhere near fighting that thing right now. So it would definitely have to be a later on thing if they do decide to fight it. Yeah. So what do you guys like? Matt? Do you think evil, not evil? Go with patron, go against patron. If you go against patron, do you lose your powers? Do you suddenly like, oh no, I have no powers now?
I mean, so that's the thing. So he's given all these words. One of them is reward, and we'll just forget any going through in order. Ford has a dream where he gets to possibly use what powers could be granted if he releases Ukatoa, which are literal command over the sea. He, reaches out and destroys a boat and then causes a tidal wave and then does all sorts of things. When he's talking with Avantika and he's like, I've had this dream where I'm in a void and I see this eye and something, and it's just so, and he pauses and she immediately jumps in with like, it's beautiful. And he's like, that was the word I was going to use. Like, was he lying then? Was he going to say something different and like fishing for her to say something? Fishing.
When they both do the consume part and like you could see like the like
in
each other's eyes. Like, also I want to point out like too, like him having that dream and having that power. When a couple episodes ago he talks about not having magic before and how easy it is to use this to solve your problems. Is that Travis giving us a beat into how Ford is seeing this kind of stuff? Because that seemed like he was very susceptible into falling into like this easy kind of stuff, and then he just gets this dream where like, I just raised my hands and the sea swallowed a whole armada. Like,
and he's even like, don't wake up, don't wake up, don't wake up.
Yeah, like,
and like, but then after meeting with Avantika and doing the whole thing where like we learned how when she got her powers and like, or not her powers, but she has the eye on her hand, a protruding eye on her right hand. we can talk about what they talk about later. But when he gets back to the group, he's like, "Man, she is crazy. She is like feeding into all this lunatic stuff, and we might have to keep an eye on her." And they're like, "Well, do we need to keep an eye on you?" And he's like, "No, me and Bo are watching each other. If I get powers and try to destroy the ocean, like maybe try to stop me or something."
Yeah, and then he has that dream, wakes up, and they're all like, "Hey, did you have a dream?" Nope.
No dream here.
Sure? Are you sure you didn't have a dream? Nope. Like, and that's what I mean when I say that, like, how much of what we see of Ford is fake? Like, did he just get really good? Like, we're like, Ford can't be bad. He's so polite. But is he just being agreeable?
Yeah.
Is he, like, the same as we just saw with Avantika when she's like, it's so beautiful, and he's like, that's exactly what I was going to say. Has he just learned to be this perfect, agreeable person that everyone's like, oh, he's so polite. He can't possibly be bad. Like, that's the first trick of the book. Like,
and that's the magic of like D&D too, is like we don't know. Like and like sometimes in a book you can be like, oh, okay, I see what's going to happen. Like all the pieces are there, but like this can all change. And I also love, this was a good moment too when he woke up from the dream and they do insight checks when the dice make the story like move forward, where Jester rolls in that. I mean, Laura rolls in that one for Jester, so she doesn't get that. Are you lying? Like, are you lying about this? And he's like, so like that, that holds those characters back from being able to push that. She's like, okay, well, no, like I can't tell if he's lying. They're so good. This was a really good episode for just like obviously fun, crazy thinking.
Yeah, so we have other things. So Rizgafti can't revoke the power, but how willing would a patron be to giving any more power if you aren't willing to do their will? More we have, I think it's really interesting how Travis is playing his warlock as almost against his will. Like, he doesn't know where these powers are coming from, he's just using them. That's from John Allison.
Is that earnest? Is that like...
I don't know anymore.
I know. I like that he's playing it as, and we've sort of been led to believe that these powers were like given to him. It's sort of like, like literally was shipwrecked and woke up on shore, now magically inclined. And like even when we first met him, he was trying to get to that magic school because like suddenly I have magic and I don't know how to use it and I need to learn. Like that's how you do, right?
Well, and like so what was Ford's original dream that he told us that he had, or no, his shipwreck dream? Because he said he saw like Sabian go down and he ran after him, and then Sabian like ran up and jumped off, and like
that wasn't the original one though.
Well, but when he told us about like how he died, or not how he died, but like how the ship wrecked, and he's like, Sabian vandalized it or sabotaged it.
He saw
and then
Sabian go down to where I guess the black powder was, so he assumes that he caused it to explode. Like he saw the ship explode.
But then what was happening with him and Vandrin? Like he was standing over Vandrin, or Vandrin was standing over him?
I think the first dream one of the earlier ones we saw was him seeing that Vandrin had the eye or something.
Yeah,
like
that was his eyes who Vandrin had like slain someone. Was standing over a body, right?
Which is why
took the orb.
Which is why that when she was saying that there was more stuff like that, he was assuming that Vandrin was a previous sort of chosen one.
Also, I love that we're like messing with John Allison's mind. He's like, up until this conversation, I took it as earnest.
I know,
we're sorry, John.
John was thinking one thing, and we've just like blown his world apart. Now he can't trust just as we can't trust.
Sorry, just to me, this is the most fun. Is just throwing all this stuff
so, like,
out here and like.
The point I was getting at is like, what if he lied about that and Sabian was like running off the ship away from Ford, trying to get away from Ford, who like somehow got in touch with his patron, maybe like snuck into Vandrin's thing to see this orb, and like then it kind of took over his brain and he went like all wild child and started killing everybody.
Well, and like I just thought of this too. Like we know we've seen the orb gave him the vision of Vandrin standing over like a body. Like, how competitive are these chosen of Uk'otoa?
Uk'otoa. Sorry.
To like gather or whatever. Like, I mean, do they like? I mean, we see with Ford and Ivanica, they're both like, oh yeah, let's nerd out about this. But like,
and like this is now the second like cultish thing that are meant to gather. Like you have the chosen are meant to gather. The Travelers is getting at his own convention together.
What is happening with the Grand Trio right now?
Is there an event coming up where the gate is going to lessen and all of the high-powered people are feeling it and they're trying to get all their little helpers together to
Oh,
release
what if there
them.
is like some sort of alignment that's happening that weakens the boundaries of this world? And all of the oh man, oh such a good idea, Jeff.
Well, like yeah, everyone is feeling it a lot right now.
GateCon.
Oh god. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that like Matt, you pointed out that like there's like we got this message from the Traveler not too long ago. Like, hey, get everyone together. We're gonna have a party real soon.
Next year,
like,
yeah.
These
This
guys
time.
over here are like, hey, get everyone together. We're gonna have a temple party real soon. Like, come crash this temple right here. So exciting.
And like, okay, so other things, because I mean we're getting close to when we usually end. We learned that the little eye on her hand, and apparently like Ford's with his falchion, like that is only the first step of the blessing from Ukatoa.
Oh yeah, that's
And
right.
like she's
how
been
much is the
chosen.
transformation?
Yeah, she's been chosen as one in steps to releasing Ukatoa. Avantika doesn't know what'll happen if they place the spheres where they're supposed to go. She knows that there's 3 temples in the area that they're at. And Ford has this little line. They're just talking, and Ford just like, I feel this. I crave control over the sea. And it's just like, what is happening here?
Well, like, did he say that
He
first?
did.
Wasn't it? Because I thought she specifically said they were discussing, like, she shows her hand, he shows the sword. They're discussing the words they learned, watch, learn, consume, etc. And she says he will bequeath the sea to us. But I'm not sure if that comes before or after, because I know Ford does say like that he craves command of the sea or something like that. Is that what you were just saying?
Yeah, like he like, I crave this control. And so like my next question that I have written down is Ford going to play Avantika, or is he going to play the group?
Yeah. See, that's.
Yeah. I'm really excited to get into this temple too, so that we can get some insight into more of Ukatoa. And the Yuan Ti and all that stuff. Like because we know the Yuan Ti are very snake god based in their whole culture, and there's like castes of different mutations, and oh man. But like, what's gonna happen when we go down there? Like, what kind of influence? What new things are we gonna learn? Like,
I like that Vox Machina fucked up the Divine Gate, and now all the gods are trying to make some noise, especially the betrayer ones. Vecna did it, now it's our turn.
Yeah.
Well, like, there's still the other thing is, like, there's still the whole, like...
The war! There is a war happening!
Yeah, like that, like they completely left that behind. Like, literally, there was already, like... And that wasn't even just a people-on-people war. There was some sort of divine shit happening over there, too.
Yeah, what's
there was
guiding
a whole
that?
dark
Like...
cloud over the border, allowing them to travel forth. That was already a crazy-ass thing.
What if that is, like, setting fire to Exandria in multiple places?
Right.
Let's head out to the coast. Let's head out on the ocean.
It's a nice campaign you got here, man. To be ashamed if somebody went out to sea. Apparently, so Kate in the chat was at New York Comic Con this weekend, and apparently, so Matt was joking today, saying that they would get back to the Empire and the war would be over.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a cool thing too, though.
Like, because all this stuff happens regardless of if you're there.
Yeah, the world moves on.
So real quick, do you want to talk about Ford's dream at all? Was there anything interesting other than the statues that he explodes going up the ladder?
I'm wondering. Go ahead.
Oh, I just want to talk mechanics based, like just DM and player. It was another good example of, because puzzles and like this kind of things is always hard for some players. You could definitely tell Travis was having some issues because he wasn't really sure what to do, and there was the joke about, are there any pigeons here? Like, someone tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. But Matt was kind of good to like he go, what I like when you have players, because I've been in a couple games where the puzzles and then everyone just gets stuck on it, and then there's no help from the DM to like, and he's like, make some rolls. He got some percent. The eye turned towards the pool of water. Like I just liked that Matt did help, because some players, like, even like, you could be really good at puzzles, but like you're in the moment of the game and your brain locks up. It's like going to a test and things like that. You just can't think straight. But I did like that there was those little roll me some checks, I'll give you some clues. Like, I like that's a good example of like helping your players when they get stuck in a puzzle kind of thing. Yeah, sorry, that mechanics base. I just like that.
Mm-hmm. No, that's legit. I was just wondering if like, was this a dream? Was his, patron giving him a vision of what is actually to come? Like when they go into the temple, will they now have the clues they need to
Oh, yeah.
has Ford basically done the first few levels of this temple? Has he already does he basically have a cheat code now? He's like, oh guys, we can skip down to level 4, like boop, boop,
Yeah,
boop,
we just
boop,
got to
boop,
destroy these 2 statues and then put our face in the water.
and they're gonna be like, hey, how do you know this? Oh, I just a guess, guys. What do you want to bet he's gonna, if this comes up, will he lie? Do you think he will? I feel like he will.
Real quick,
that's
I just want to thank the chat for not reminding me to fix Jess's name. I'm gonna cut this out of the podcast.
They joked about it a bunch.
Did they? And nobody said anything?
I said it right at the beginning, and I kept expecting you to notice.
No, I never saw it.
Look, see, Kate is saying it in chat right now.
Oh no!
Me and Kate at the beginning were just like, hey, look, it's me, Kate. Hi, Kate. Hi, Kate. It's me. Like, because you had me as Kate,
my
not
goodness.
Jess. So that's cool. It's fine.
One other little point that I wanted, a good little kernel that Travis had said too, like when he talked about the visions he gets, he doesn't know whether it's showing his future or, possible options. Like I liked the idea, like as Jess brought up that I didn't even think about too, are these some things they'll run into in the temple?
Like
maybe in a different form? Because like we saw, the statues sort of looked like the people on his boat and things like that, but like.
Well, and that's
we
what
getting clues into like the depths of this temple, and
that's the part that stuck out the most to me of the thing. So the first one, he's told grow when he climbs upstairs, and then he's stopped by a statue, and so he's told provoke, and he just straight up blasts it, not even thinking of it, and it turns out to be a statue similar to Sabian, who's the guy who he's blaming for the ship exploding. And then he keeps going and sees another statue, and he's like, okay, this one I'm gonna witch bolt it, and the face ends up looking like Vandrin. Mm-hmm. And so he just offed these 2 people that he's been trying to find real quick. And Vandrin, he's talked about him as his friend, as a father figure. And he just straight up.
As a mentor.
Yeah, and just destroyed his statue and then just kept walking up. So it's is Ford completely in the Uk'otoa ship?
Well, but it sounded like he was... At this point, he sort of seems to just be going along with these dreams. But that's us watching him go along with it. And I was expecting him to be a little bit more shocked at the end when he suddenly had ocean controlling powers.
But he wasn't.
But he was so happy about it.
That's all he wanted.
He was so excited to destroy those ships with his ocean powers. And he even said... he did not want to wake up from that dream.
And somebody had said it earlier. I don't remember who it was, and I can't
Scary.
Scroll back. But he's like, well, what if these ships were coming to pay homage to Uk'otoa or whatever, and he just destroys them?
That's another question, though. What just happened in that dream? Did that happen? Did Ford actually destroy some ships somewhere, or was this just a Uk'otoa showing him possible rewards later on?
Yeah, because he's like, he didn't, do I recognize the ships or anything like that?
Yeah, just that, the sometimes story stereotype of someone, doing something, be like, I thought it was all a dream, but it actually happened, type thing, and then, you said, were those good, were those bad?
But
is Uk'otoa happy either way? No, more awesome dead people in my ocean.
I mean, at this point, it feels like all Uk'otoa wants is to just entice these idiots to release them. But then just still, he wakes up and immediately lies nope, no dream.
Yes.
Oh, boy. But we do finally meet Jumanji Costco. We find out that there's a bunch of lizard folk that live on the exterior of the island, and then towards the center, the temple to Uk'otoa.
Not abandoned?
Not abandoned, and instead lived in by snake people of different mutations, he said. So, are these...
The more mutated are the more important.
and so along with that, Do we think it's gonna be like standard Yuan-Ti, and that's what he's seeing, like the pure blood versus the half bloods, and like the ones that look like snakes or just have half snake bodies or like look like people, or
Yeah.
because these could be the quote unquote indigenous people of these islands that have the blessing of Ukatoa, and we know that the blessing of Ukatoa manifests as some sort of eye, and that's only the first step. So maybe these people have like been a long line of people who have had this blessing and have actually started mutating into snake people.
Ooh. So do you think these people will be actually blessed, or do you think it'll be the sort of thing that they like pray to the temple and therefore they all have like tattoos of eyes on them, but none of them have the actual gift?
I think
Because Ukatoa was looking for someone outside to come in, as like it seems like the temple is here on the island, but the pieces needed for the temple were found elsewhere. So he needed people elsewhere to come be his chosen.
just real quick, Kate said everyone around her was humming the Fantasy Costco song.
Fantasy Costco, where all your dreams come true.
Found some snakes for you. Well, yeah. So, what do you think?
Well, I'm wondering, because if you go into Volo's Guide, page 98, and you go into the UNT, there's unusual abilities, and there's an entire list of like traits and additional actions that you can choose to have. So I'm wondering if it's a play on this sort of stuff, or we're gonna have a mix of people who have acid slime, chameleon skin, shape changer, which is for purebloods only, guys. Shed skin once a day, which seems like a very often time to shed your skin. Like, I feel like, don't you want to keep that skin a little longer? I don't know. If you put effort into making that skin, do you really want to, like, what a waste if you have those tattoos on there. Those really nice Ukatoa tattoos.
And actually, the page before is all like body variations, which is neat. Like you could have a broad and round head, or a triangular head, or human legs with large snake tail, or scaly human legs and a large snake tail. I don't know. I'm super interested because I haven't played too much D&D. I only started around when the show started, and so UNT are like new as far as like seeing them used. Mm-hmm. So this is all like new, and I'm excited to see it all. I want to know what accent they'll have. I want to know like if they all only speak like a certain language, or if they're actually going to understand anything.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Do you think it's gonna be that Matt is gonna make it so that they like none of y'all speak parcel mouth, none of y'all speak parcel tongue, so you can't
this is gonna be like, well, and how much like they have to be careful like getting through this jungle too, because Jamon, I wanted to call him Jumanji because I can't remember his actual name now.
Me neither. Yeah,
Jamati. Yeah. Like he said, he found like a fairly good trail to the like how much can they go overboard by running across a tribe of lizard folk, or like there's so many jungle issues that can happen, and maybe there's some of the wonderful like man-eating plants from Tomb of Annihilation.
Oh yeah, the man traps.
Yeah, the Cholt stuff, the living plant things.
Will they find a Zorbo? Zorbo are these evil things in Tomb of Annihilation that I'm not going to go into.
I'm not familiar with that.
I will tell you later.
I love the images we're getting right now of lizard folk, Yuan-Ti, temples. I'm imagining traps with like, I'm imagining, and like you said, Jamati is talking about how he has a path that he thinks is fairly safe in. And they're like, oh, should we like fight them all? And he's like, no, like please, let's try to avoid them at all costs. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm really kind of hoping for and imagining a whole Indiana Jones thing where they like sneak all the way in, do the bunch of things, accidentally set off the traps and have to run back, have to have like bows and arrows and things thrown at them as they like run back to the ship type thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Little bit of like
a Tressum would be good.
A little bit of Indiana Jones, a little bit of Tomb Raider, a little bit of a Tomb of Annihilation.
Yeah. Everyone in chat is saying Grungs. I love
Grungs would be great.
I totally want to see Grungs because they're so much fun because they have different poisons.
But here's another fun thing. So we know Ford is half orc, half something. Will we find like the other half family somewhere on this island? Is this where Ford's from?
I thought that, but I'm not so...
Not too much? That's too far?
It's funny because, like, I was so... I was so crazy about it in the beginning. And I'm still very, very open to the idea of Ford being half something else. But I don't like he was an orphan back at the city.
Or so he says.
Yeah, true. You're right. Absolutely. I totally like if at any point we found out everything he's told us is a lie, I would not be surprised. Like, not for a second. I will be like, yep. 100%.
I believe it. Well, cool. Was there any other burning questions anybody in the chat had as we kind of wrap up? Was there anything that y'all wanted to point out? Like, was there a standout MVP of the episode? Was there a great moment, favorite quote?
I feel like Kate's just going to say Avantika.
Answer my... Okay. So we did have another question in the forums by someone named Guess Who? And the question is, how hot was Avantika? Question mark, exclamation, 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 exclamation mark, Pirate Queen's yas. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that for a little bit. How hot was Avantika?
Oh, Purple Tron brought up a good thing too, but which I don't know if that was actually a thing.
Yeah, we kind of skipped on that. So while Ford and Avantika are talking, Ashley is like whispering constantly over to Taliesin. Then afterwards, we get the Molly gets brought up because they're talking about tattoos. She had a tattoo of an eye, and they're like, "Didn't we know somebody else that had tattoos of eyes?" Oh, that's not her voice.
I think it was like the serpent eye kind of triggered something too, maybe. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
And then we get the nice like, "Did you ever see Ford or Molly naked? Y'all room together?" And Talison's like, "Yes, he did." Molly was a terrible roommate. But yeah, so Molly has 9 eye tattoos all over him that he tries to basically mask with the other tattoos. So, like, there's an eye in, like, a peacock feather or, like, one of the eyes of the snake. And he's never able to, like, get rid of them. And when he activates his right, that is where, like, blood comes out of, is these eyes. And one of Molly's names was Nonagon, which we know now is a 9-sided polygon shape. But, like, I don't know if 9 has been associated with the serpent at all. Like, it has multiple eyes. I don't know if that really holds water. I think everybody wants it to.
It probably doesn't.
Yeah.
I like the mistake. It's a little leaky.
Yeah, I mean, sure, his eyes are red, but also, you know, mixed colors. Put yellow and purple, it might look a little reddish, even though that actually makes brown, but still.
I think it's more of like, I still wish I knew more about Molly, but I also like that I don't know enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sucks. And like Matt was in a like a GM round table thing where they kind of all asked, like, since y'all are making characters and kind of starting from the beginning, what's going to be one of the hard challenges? And Matt's like, death will be a hard challenge because they're going to make these backstories, and if somebody dies early, like, that's it. That story is gone, and it's not going to get explored anymore. And so, like, Matt went into this campaign with them having that knowledge, so they were all probably on board with, like, we're never going to figure out what happened with Molly. Like, that was it. But now we got cool Caduceus.
I love Caduceus. Or anyway.
Other than that, Avantika just...
Oh man, I just loved Laura.
That was my favorite quote.
Yes!
Not even a quote. And the whole time she's like trying to play it cool, but also be Laura. And then Travis is like, "Do you know what would happen if we were to?" And she just doesn't even flinch. She's like, and then immediately apologizes, and everyone, oh man, that is the best.
They have the moment when they're asking her like what Jester is doing, and she's like, "Jester is drawing Avantika like a voodoo doll being like stabbed with like knives." Like, yeah. See, Kate just said in chat. Jester,
I love how like jealous she gets about that. Like,
so Liam
but
H.
then nothing
Gray.
that happens in between them.
Here's a fun
role playing wise.
Here's a fun one. Are we going to see Hellboy-esque instant tusk growth? Which is interesting that he's, you know, going by Tusktooth when he doesn't have tusks.
Yeah, because they made a point of saying that too. They're like, "Wait, you don't have tusks?" And he's like, "Yep." But like, I'm interested to see, like, we haven't seen any tusk growth back yet, and hasn't there been a period of time where he said he was going to be allowing them to grow back? Because
if they were ever not actually there, the liar.
Yerp. Yep, just giving us all a sad stab story that we all ate up like nom nom nom. Like, oh no, poor Ford, he filed down his tusks.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
nobody
he's
ever
had us.
checks what he says.
He
I know. I like
has
where
us.
there's a few of us who just like you can't trust anything. Don't let his like
Yes.
soft-spoken drawl.
My hair
lull
has
you
been
into a sense of security.
thinning.
I had a full head of hair before this campaign started.
But yeah, and I love Avantika. Like I am all in for Avantika.
It's
I don't
gonna
want
suck when they have
Ford
to
to
kill her.
Yeah, well, and that's gonna, like, and I can't help but feel like, I don't know, I really like her because I think she's a really good example of the right kind of, like, villain you want to have, where, like, you can really get along with them. They have a lot of really good qualities. Like, aside from the fact that she's a crazy cultist, she seems great so far. Like, she's so upfront with them, she's so honest, she's so smart, she's, like, you know what I mean?
She's just crazy.
Amazing. Yeah, it's just that she's also, trying to get an evil elder god to come back to the place, and who knows what that'll do. That's all.
And like she will 100% turn on this group as soon as she gets what she wants. Like it's gonna happen.
I love Matt doing the French accent though. Oh my
it's good.
God.
So good.
It's good. Well, cool. That we went pretty long.
That's a great way to finish. We can finish on Ivanica.
We're okay. Wow. I don't have words. Hey, we were Critical Reroll. We do this once a week after Critical Role. You can follow us on Twitter at Critical Reroll. I'm pretty sure I said we were Critical Role and I meant Reroll. I was Matt, and I still will openly welcome our new Serpent Overlord, Ukatoa.
I'm Jess, and I don't trust anything Ford says. Also, Ukatoa.
Ukatoa. And I'm Dustin at Junerd on Twitter. Watching.
Oh my god. Alright, thanks everybody.
Bye!
Bye!
Thanks so much. Bye!
Bow, 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 bow.